Thank you for joining us. I'm Jake Sherman, founder of Punchbowl News. We're here with Commerce Secretary Gina Raimondo. We're talking USICA, the big competitiveness bill that we covered. Goodness, we covered it very heavily back in the summer, last summer when it was in the Senate. It was on the Senate floor for a long time, and House Democrats have their own version. They're going to try to negotiate between these two versions, and Secretary Raimondo's on the front lines of this for the administration. So let me start with this. Give us just a broad view of where these talks are at this moment.
They're in a good place. I think they are in a good place. As you know, we've been working on this for some time.
Oh yeah.
Alleviating the chip shortage and bringing back manufacturing jobs is a top priority of the president. It's also bipartisan. It is bipartisan. I think that the inflation concerns and the fact that chips are very directly related to that, particularly because of car prices, has added some more urgency to the discussion. So since the beginning of this year, I've talked to probably 50 lawmakers, Democrat, Republican, House, Senate. They want to get this done. And I think that we have some momentum, and I feel pretty good about it.
So there's no question there's momentum. I agree. I mean, House Democrats agreeing to put out their own version was a big step in the right direction, I would say. But give us a sense, give us 2 or 3 issues that you think need to be worked out. I mean, obviously, when the Senate passed their bill, the House kind of threw up its hands and said, we're not taking this. We have our own thoughts. What are going to be those big differences that you're going to have to overcome?
Yeah, let me say this. I think there is both the House and the Senate, and even Democrats and Republicans, agree on the goals. They agree on the bones of the bill. They agree on the urgency. So that is why I'm so optimistic, because what they agree on outweighs what they disagree on. I'll also say from my recent phone calls with Speaker Pelosi, she's deeply engaged. She is working hard with her committee chairs. And it's a number of committees. This is a complex bill to problem solve. So, there's an agreement that there have to be big investments in basic research. There may be different ways to get there. There seems to be very good agreement around the $52 billion emergency appropriation for chips and ORAN. I think there's agreement around the need to have this bill help America compete vis-a-vis China. There may be differences for exactly how to do that. So it's hundreds of pages, so I can't, I don't want to speculate exactly, but there's agreement, it has to happen, and there's agreement on the bones of the bill.
So you said you talked to Pelosi. Obviously, she's key here. I mean, I would imagine Ways and Means, Energy and Commerce, Science and Space and Technology. Everyone has a piece of this bill, which you you alluded to. How are you working the issue? I mean, give us a sense of that.
Well, you've mentioned, I've spent a lot of time with Chairman Neal and Chairman Pallone and Chairman Eddie Bernice Johnson, like working it. This is just doing the work, engaging, providing technical assistance, talking to committee chairs, talking to Ways and Means, talking to Leader Hoyer, working at the staff level, talking with Republicans, talking with the ranking members. Just like I said, I think everyone knows this has to happen. Everyone knows the longer we wait, the bigger the problem gets. Everyone knows this is a national security issue, not just economic security.
Right.
We currently produce no leading edge semiconductor chips in the United States of America. Those are the chips needed in military equipment for artificial intelligence. We buy almost all of them from Taiwan. So the lawmakers get that, and they want to, everyone I talk to today, I've had 5 conversations already. Democrats, Republicans, House, and Senate.
That's just today, you said. You've had
and that's just today, since 7 o'clock this morning today. You can feel it. I've been working with legislative bodies for a decade now in Rhode Island, but new here. You can feel it. It's a palpable sense of momentum. The gravity of the issue is, people get it. So now it's just a matter of like getting to the table. I think the speaker is poised to put a bill on the floor, to introduce a bill during recess any day now.
Yep.
You could probably tell me what day, any day now. And then the work begins, getting to the table, puts and takes, negotiating. But everyone I've talked to has said it's time to get it done.
And it seems like I'd usually ask you what kind of the must-haves in this bill are, but I would imagine, given the work the administration did on the Senate side when this bill passed, that's kind of a good framework to be working off of, right, for you guys?
Yes, and that's what I mean by the bones. There is broad bipartisan agreement on the bones of the bill, on the key components. Everybody agrees we need more money for basic research. The United States of America has fallen behind in federal investment in research and development, which is the critical building block and foundation for innovation and our competitive edge. How that gets done, there are disagreements between the House and the Senate, legitimate disagreements. And so this is why I think the speaker and her committee chairs, they're doing the work to come up with the right solutions, and they'll hash through those disagreements. But at the end of the day, there's agreement on like the urgency and the goals and the principles.
Let me add 3 more questions. So Intel announced a new plant in Ohio. New plant in Arizona coming up. I mean, why make the case for skeptics who believe the federal government should not be involved in things like this? I mean, you made the national security argument, but I mean, that seems to be your imperative, right? As the federal government, and I would imagine in your view, needs to be involved because you want to onshore some of this chip manufacturing.
Absolutely. The position that we're in now, today I just announced the results of we did a big survey to gather data from the semiconductor industry. I cannot overestimate the fragility of this supply chain. The average inventory is 5 days. A year and a half ago, it was 40 days. Capacity of manufacturing facilities is over 90%. Demand is outstripping supply by 20, 30% and going up. So this is real. We're buying 70+% of our most sophisticated chips from one company in Taiwan. If you actually took a few minutes to think about the risks associated with that, the federal government has always invested in having a strong industrial base, in having strong research and development. And President Biden believes, and by the way, members of the Congress of both parties believe, it's time to make more in America, period. This is an investment in American manufacturing, American people, American strength, the American manufacturing base. And we've learned very painfully during COVID how hard it is when manufacturing is all overseas and not here when we need it.
Yeah, let me dig in on that one point for 1 second. I mean, if you're a member of Congress, and we hear this all the time, and our polling shows this, is that one of the things that members of Congress on both sides of the aisle are incredibly worried about is supply chain issues, and that going into an election year, even not going into an election year, people feel that people aren't able to get dishwashers or refrigerators or whatever. If you're them and you're making this in their self-interest, tell me how passing this bill now will help alleviate, in your estimation, the supply chain problems.
Chips are in everything.
Yep.
You can't find, literally your car, your phone, your exercise equipment, your washer, your dryer, everything, your computer, the ability to have this interview. It's actually unique in a way as a product, if you think about it, how ubiquitous it is. You saw the inflation numbers come out a couple of weeks ago, not where we want them to be. A third of those inflation numbers were due to the increased prices in cars and in used cars. That is directly related primarily to the lack of chips. It's getting worse. There's 2,000 chips in an electric vehicle. There's about 600 in a traditional vehicle. So And that's why I'm saying, guys, we got to get this done. Every day we wait is a day we can't afford.
One more question for you. We're sitting here January 25th. When should we, so let's say Pelosi drops something this week. Are we looking at something February, March, April, May? I mean, what's your
Wait
timeline?
till April, May.
Interesting.
Can't
Okay.
wait till April, May.
So you want something in the next.
And there's no reason to. There's no reason to. We have broad agreement. The House has been working really hard. We know the issues. It's got to happen. There's no need for delay. Let's do it. Let's do it. It's time.
Thanks, Madam Secretary. Appreciate it.
Thank you.